recording. Hopefully you can see the screen.
Yep.
Yes.
And welcome everyone to the special triage call, which we plan to try to reduce the issues waiting for triage. So let's get started with them. The first one is whether our owner references should block the owner deletion. That way, when you, for example, delete the Kafka CR, it will actually wait for things to be deleted before kind of returning. So I think multiple people sounded like it should be done. So are we good with this?
Yep. Plus
Yeah,
one.
I'm happy.
Do we think it needs a proposal or can it be just done?
I don't think it needs a proposal.
Okay, so like this, and let's remove the needs triage. To be honest, I haven't looked into the code, so I'm not sure if it's a good start or not. So maybe we leave it like this.
Maybe we can add the help wanted.
Yeah,
Possibly.
maybe just the help wanted, yeah.
So the next issue is removing the remaining annotations from the upgrade test. I guess that's blocked until
Yeah, I guess
few more-
until we release 0.48, and I guess then we can change it in the system tests, and then we can remove the other annotations. I was already thinking about it.
Was it removed already in 47? No, only in 48, so I think you need to wait
Yeah,
at least
until
till
the next.
49.
Like we are doing upgrades from the latest released version to the latest, so I think it will just wait for the next release, upcoming release, and then we can remove it. I will take a look at it anyway. Thanks.
So, this. And I guess we leave it blocked. Okay, the next one is so that's from some user who wants to set his own cert star password variable. But to be honest, that's just internal variable used by Strimzi only. And we are moving away from it, so we should not encourage anyone to use it. So I think it should be rejected.
Yeah, I felt this was something where the user should do something, not that we needed to change anything in Strimzi.
Like this, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is about the Helm chart, converting numbers to strings or floats when the reconciliation interval is too big. I guess we can go with the fix suggested by this user.
Yeah, I did have a quick look at the Helm docs, and that seemed to align with what they were suggesting there.
Yeah, we can even tag him directly to see if he's interested to contribute.
Okay, like this.
Yep.
Should we mark it as help wanted in case the user doesn't come back to it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay, next issue.
This was another one where my understanding of it, I wasn't sure what change we would make within Strimzi, whether we want to go this route. It to feel to me like maybe we would if a user wanted to contribute it, but I wasn't sure.
So like, we definitely don't want to do a webhook, right? That's a mess.
Say that again?
That we don't want to do a webhook which would kind of validate the changes. So
Yeah.
that would be a huge mess. I guess what we can do is something similar to what we do for the storage, where we kind of store the internal copy of the storage configuration in annotations on the internal resources. And then every reconciliation, we compare it to what's configured there. And if someone does some analog changes or tries to delete and disk that is not empty and so on, then we basically kind of detect it in the operator. We warn the user and we continue the reconciliation with using the original configuration. So in theory, something like that can be probably done for the teacher storage. Whether it should be done, that remains a question, I guess.
I guess the thing I'm not familiar with is it common for people to want to configure and then remove tiered storage? Is that a common thing? Because my understanding was that I assumed you would just turn it on for the clusters you want it and then you would just leave it on. So that was my pondering of how beneficial it would be in terms of, is it something that people are often likely to do, switching it back and forth?
I would not expect it, I guess.
I mean, we can always leave this open and then if someone, but say that you don't.
I mean, you can say that the same about the scale down prevention and the storage check and so on, right? Do you really expect people to delete cluster nodes which have data?
I think in terms of scaling the number of brokers and things you have, it's not as unexpected because if you were managing like a fluctuating workload, it might be you'd want to scale up for your busier times, scale down for less busy times for traffic and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm flexible about this one. I think one can reject it and say that it's the user's responsibility. One can also leave it open if someone wants to do it.
Yeah, I'm open to leaving it open, but I don't feel like it's something we need to rush to do.
I myself wouldn't hurry to implement this.
Yeah, I agree. I would leave it open for someone to implement right now. Anyway, even if we don't know how many people use tire storage and then they disable tire storage, anyway, it's not great UX that you can do that and then you have to deal with the logs in order to understand what's going on.
Like this, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So next one.
I think this one should be closed, right? Because of the introduction of the Strimzi metrics reporter, it's expected that we've got different Grafana dashboards for that reporter versus what we had before. And then in the proposal, it talked about the kind of general moving of the defaults and things. So
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. In theory, we can add both sets to the Helm chart, I guess.
Mhm.
But would that cause more confusion? Or
I think there
because
was
ultimately only one of the sets would work, you know?
yeah, I think there was definitely a discussion about how we phase in like which dashboards or
So I think the original proposal basically said that at some point when we gain confidence and so on, we will probably
yeah.
switch the kind of defaults, the main examples and so on to the Strimzi metrics reporter. And
Yeah.
that's when I would expect to switch dashboards as well.
Mm-hmm.
But in theory, if users would want that, you can probably have both set of dashboards in the Helm chart, and
Yeah, true.
but only one would work, so that's a bit strange. So I guess closing it seems the most obvious thing.
Presumably in terms of it's the same files, right? Or are they Helm Grafana, like Helm-based Grafana dashboards aren't any different to normal Grafana dashboards?
I think there are some config maps containing the dashboards or something like that.
Okay.
Like,
I guess my question is, can you make use of the Strimzi metrics reporter Grafana dashboards if you're running using Helm today?
so we have here just JSONs,
Yeah.
and somewhere, somehow, this thing basically generates a config map for each of the JSONs, which
Okay.
includes the JSON inside. So,
Right.
like in theory, I guess we could have here another set of files with some prefix or suffix to indicate
Which one?
are the JMX exporter, which are the Strimzi metrics reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And then my understanding is that from the config map, the Grafana operator or whatever tooling automatically loads the dashboard.
Okay.
So if you would have all in the config map, then all of these would be loaded up. But then
Right.
the weird thing is that actually
Yeah.
only half of them would
Actually,
work,
yeah.
right? So like I think there are various options if the users want to have it included. I guess you can also have two config maps and have some switch, because I guess
And yeah, you could have it in the values YAML to switch between the two.
the template renders only when there is some flag marked as enabled. So in theory, you could have like values Strimzi metric reporter dashboards enabled as a separate thing, and you could pick, would that be interesting? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, I guess we close this issue then, but say if needed, we could have a separate issue for supporting the Strimzi metrics reporter dashboards directly in the Helm charts. But that will happen eventually anyway. But if people want them earlier, then they could add an option to have both. Yeah, makes sense.
Next one. Oh, this one's complicated. Paolo, what do you think about it? It's bridge.
No, yeah, I agree that we should not have the pre-hook Harry suggested. Maybe we can have an improvement about handling the graceful shutdown in Vertex as my last content, as my last comment, but not adding this thing about the pre-hook in the operator.
Yeah, to be honest, I find very weird this focus kind of how to switch off the bridge in absolutely clean way, and disregarding that if the client isn't able to handle these things, then this can happen in a million different situations as well.
Yeah.
So should we close it or should we?
Well, I guess that the graceful shutdown on the Vertex side maybe can be improved. because there is nothing like that. But so maybe leave it open for this kind of implementation, but not for the other.
So like this, does that make sense?
Yes.
And so we remove the triage label, or
Yeah, let's remove it. Yeah. And wanted.
like this?
Yep.
Um, So what do we do about this one? Okay, you are looking into this as well.
Yeah, so I had a look at the docs. So yeah, the person who commented saying that Helm recommended having two charts, I assumed from the way that was worded that they meant that was the recommended way, but it's not. There are two descriptions for options. The first option is the one that has the most detail and is the option that we're currently doing, which is a CRDs directory for our CRDs. My understanding is that the benefit of having a separate chart for the CRDs is that then you can install the chart and then you can run a Helm upgrade, which will install the new chart. And because it's a whole new chart, it installs the whole thing. So that's my understanding. I know it doesn't explicitly say it in the docs, but that's my understanding from the brief reading that I've been doing. However, I mean, I don't feel like there's a strong reason for us to make the change at this point, unless the original person raising this can expand on why that mechanism works for them and applying the new CRDs themselves doesn't. I feel like.
Would it then mean that the users don't have to do the kubectl replace with the CRDs as it was before? Or there is actually no other, benefit?
Well, I think it's just that they don't need to use kubectl, but the original raiser said something around there was like specific restrictions in certain environments that meant that they couldn't do it that way. But they didn't really share many details.
My understanding is not the same as Kate has.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Helm upgrade on the CRD chart will do anything.
Because it does.
Because it's still Helm chart as any other, and Helm chart upgrade doesn't upgrade the CRD.
But wouldn't you? I guess I'm making assumptions here. I haven't looked into this in a lot of depth. I've just kind of read through the documentation. My assumption was that the CRDs chart, you wouldn't put the CRDs in the CRDs folder. You would just put them as normal resources. So any Helm upgrade action would do what you would expect for a normal resources. That was my assumption. But that may well be wrong.
I don't think it cares about the CRD directory. I think it knows the type of the resource it is creating.
Okay. Don't know whether the Prometheus. So yeah, so I mean, my feeling was without having more input from the user of exactly like what is it about this change that's helpful to them, given that we are currently doing one of the recommended methods and Helm explicitly say that they have reasons why they don't support the Helm upgrade, but they might in future if everyone decides how best to handle CRDs. My feeling was I don't feel like we have enough information to have a strong case for changing it at the moment.
Yeah, like for me, it would be beneficial if the Helm upgrade was also upgrade the CRDs, and then you would not have to use the kubectl anyway. But if it's not the case, I guess it doesn't make sense to have it now.
So should we close it?
Yeah, well, given that the user didn't come back, I guess we can close it.
Yeah, it's been open. I guess it's been
Okay.
open a month. Do you want to leave it another
Well,
time for them to respond, or
so the user,
the users never come back? That was a different
yeah, the
person.
user never came back. Some other person came back. So do we want to leave them until next week?
Yeah. I think it's fair to leave it open for either the drive-by guy or their words, not mine. Or the original raiser to comment.
Like this?
Yeah.
Maybe should we tag the user and the drive-by guy if they have something else to it?
I mean, you commented on it, you get notifications normally. They are subscribed to it. So this one is next.
This is missing documentation, right?
Seems like it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
so
guess
we
it makes
should
sense. Yeah.
do this.
I guess nobody else will fix it for us, but we can mark it as help wanted. Okay, next one.
I wasn't
guess
sure.
this was. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I wasn't sure what the current state of this one was, given we've now had extra releases since 045. Obviously this was created in August, so not that long ago.
Yeah, I guess the user wanted to cherry pick it to the release branch, but Jakub or Pablo asked him to, like, we will not do it, but if he wants to have it there and we will have some kind of another release, we can, he can cherry pick it and we can do it as together with different release.
So we close it, and yeah, if someone opens the PR.
Yes. Yeah.
Presumably we at this point we would never create another 045 fixer, would we? Unless there was like a
I think there's one issue or something like that.
Yeah.
So I guess we promised 1 year of support, so November or December we should get back to it and think about it.
Okay.
If there is anything we need for. Okay, first page done. So this is something I opened. It seems to me that using the term Kafka Bridge in our docs, it's pretty confusing despite the custom resource being named Kafka Bridge. And I thought it would be better if we used something like Strimzi Bridge, HTTP Bridge, Strimzi HTTP Bridge, or something like that. That seemed to have gotten support with the name as a HTTP bridge to be probably preferred.
Yeah, it looks like overall HTTP Bridge wins.
Does help wanted make sense here?
Yeah, let's see.
I don't think anyone ever did any help wanted issues for docs or system tests. So.
Yeah, well, the hope dies last, so.
So I raised this
Yeah,
one.
that's actually your issue.
Yeah, I raised this. Basically, so we already added support for stopped connectors as well as paused, but there's a feature where you can actually start the connector in a stopped state. So the benefit of that is the connector comes up, but it doesn't actually start reading anything. So the two changes we would need to make is currently you can only do that if you create the connector using a post rather than a put. So we would need to update the Strimzi to use post when creating new connectors. But it's fairly straightforward to do. It would just require a slight tweak in the way we build the request body. And then we can include the initial state based on the value in the CR. Because today what we do is we create the connector and then in a subsequent call we'll stop it, which means actually in reality it will start processing messages before we get round to calling stop. So I think
just still use the existing API.
Yeah. So it's still an existing the API for connectors would stay the same. It's just the underlying how we handle it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Anyone else?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, fine.
So, any special labels for it, Kate?
No, you can leave the connect label on. Yeah, I'll probably pick this one up.
Okay.
Fairly soon.
Yeah, I guess this makes sense, and also the community users doing it as part of the connector, whatever PR.
Yeah. The restart.
Yeah.
Query parameter.
Exactly.
Okay. So the next one. So that's from the CRD one. We discussed this on Monday, so we skip that. So this one I opened after the discussion with some user who ran into the problems that
it was during the upgrade.
With PEM, when using the PEM certificates directly, we seem to now support only PKCS8 certificates. That was kind of what we intended to support from the beginning in the past as well. But whether we want it or not, PKCS1 was supported as well when we used OpenSSL and the Java key tool. And that doesn't work now anymore. So I think we should make it clear in the in the docs that it has to be PKCS8.
Yeah, this makes sense to me. I think we should definitely do this.
Yeah, makes sense to me as well.
Okay, this one was interesting.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Anyone has any thoughts about it? I mean, I can see why we should have done it for runtime scope dependencies only at the beginning,
Yeah.
but I'm a bit afraid to just switch it like that now.
Yeah.
I saw that there is a comment about adding a possibility to specify the scope. So
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense now to not break anything from before.
Or could we introduce it with a feature flag to let people give the thing that concerns me?
The feature though doesn't make much sense here for me, because so what do you do when it stops working with the feature flag?
Well, so what I
They-
was going to
they-
say was, I think the tricky thing is that ideally all of the connectors would have properly configured their dependencies to be accurate, but I don't think that's the case. So I think that probably does actually mean that giving it as an option to the user to determine potentially on a per plugin basis. But I don't, can you do it on a per plugin basis? Would that be implementable? What scope you want to pull?
You mean the scope?
Yeah.
So I would expect the scope to be basically a field here, right?
Yeah.
This is where you define what you want to pull. If you add the scope here, and this
Yeah.
basically generates this command.
Yeah. I think it's I think it would be useful for us to allow people to configure the scope, because the current setup feels to me like we're making it harder for people who are using connectors that are using Maven properly and easier for those who aren't in some ways. Because writing things down as provided scope is the correct thing to do if you're expecting them to be provided.
So everyone is for configuring the scope.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be the default one provided?
Well, it has to be, we are doing this to make sure it's backwards compatible, right? So it has to be the same as today.
Okay.
Which
No,
I
no,
guess,
yeah.
is
I didn't
all
remember
or-
what was the default one today. It's provided, I guess.
I
No.
think it's something
No.
like all, like everything.
Yeah. I think you get everything.
So should this have a proposal, given its API change and so on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it'd be useful to have a
Yes.
proposal.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Dale would be happy to contribute this.
Even Neeraj, I guess that Neeraj opened the PR,
Oh,
which at this point should be close, I would say, or kind of rejected.
yes.
He pinged me for another question before the call. So I will highlight him that we had this triage on this issue, so that he can come back to the PR and see what's kind of the decision we made.
So like this, does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Proposal. Okay, sounds good. Next thing.
That's actually from me, and it's about adding a possibility to Mirror Maker to, as we have for Connect, to building, the image with plugins we want there. And I guess I was thinking about it because of some discussions with users that try to, write their own transformers and I guess some policies. So they have to build their own image with these kind of plugins, and I guess it would make sense to have some kind of possibility for them, or it would be a better UX to specify everything in the spec of the Kafka Mirror Maker 2, and yeah, let the build do its thing and use it straight. But yeah, I guess Jakub has a good point that in the future we would like to get rid of the build possibility or build feature and replace it with the image volumes. But I guess it's in beta or something in Kubernetes 133. So we are still waiting until we support just the version of Kubernetes that has this kind of feature implemented. So I don't know what's opinion of other ISO case, but
Yeah, I do see the benefit of it. There's quite a few different plugins you can provide. And for me, when you're running Mirror Maker, I think particularly converters for connecting to like schema registry or things like that, or custom formats for messages, and then transformation predicates in the configuration providers could be quite common. But yeah,
Should
for me, it's a trade-off.
that really be common?
I think so. I mean,
To be honest, I don't think it was designed for that, really. And it seems there's a lot of this potential push where there are a lot of users who would want Mirror Maker to actually be able to mirror the data without really decoding and processing them. Or at least when it was introduced, there were plans to be able to handle it. And that goes completely against any kind of schema registry, transformation plugins, and so on. So I don't know, for me, one of the big parts is that it doesn't seem like you should be reusing the plugins, and that, yeah, maybe they can work, but maybe it's not the best way to do.
I think it depends on what your flow is, but I think it is fairly common for people to be. So, for example, if you're using Mirror Maker for making streams of data available to other applications running in other parts of your business, I think it's fairly likely that you might want to change that data to restrict fields or whatever. And obviously, a lot of that you can do with the default transformations and predicates. But to me, it doesn't seem like that unusual of a use case to want to have a specific custom plugin. I think for me, the big trade-off is more if we want to support image volumes in future, which like ultimately the Connect build is handy for development, but in production, how much are you going to actually use it? And if we have image volumes in future, it's kind of, is it worth all of the work to put that in if we think actually image volumes is the way forward? To me, that would be the reason not to do it rather than it not being useful.
Yeah, so for me, like I proposed and developed the Kafka Connect build, right? It seemed like a good idea at that point, but it seems a bit like I can see how it's useful for development, but I don't think it's suitable for production because it doesn't really give you the testability in many cases. You don't know exactly what is being put there and so on. You need to have the registry, you need to be able to build images. In many companies, that's from a security perspective, kind of a no-go to have in production things such as compilers and so on. So I think that's why I see it as a development feature mainly.
Yeah, same.
That said, we don't have a good solution for upgrades of Kafka Connect other than the Kafka Connect build, because when you tell the users to use their own Docker image, then the whole upgrade schema for Connect is pretty weird, as in, if you want to do it really properly, you basically pause the reconciliation of all connects before the upgrade. Then you upgrade the operator, then you go and change the image to the new image in all the Kafka Connect resources, then you unpause them again. And that's where the Kafka Connect actually does the job well, right? Because if you use it in production and do the upgrade, then it kind of rebuilds the image. So you don't need to do any pausing of reconciliation. You don't need to do anything special. So in a way, I see it as a development feature, but a lot of people might use it in production, but it has its own issues. The image volumes for me kind of couple a bit both of these advantages. You can pre-build the image. You can just kind of have it updated as the base image updates and so on. So that's why I see that as the future for the long term. That said, as I said, I don't see plugins as something that Kafka Mirror Maker 2 should use. So that's why when I added the support for the image volumes, the plugin feature in Kafka Connect, which is designed for the image volumes, it's actually not included in the Kafka Mirror Maker 2 resource, just to make it clear. So you can actually use it to include the plugins in Mirror Maker 2 today, but it goes kind of through the mounted image volumes and then modifying the class path manually, rather than through the plugin mechanism, which is inside Connect.
Well, or equally, if people want to use it with Mirror Maker today, they could obviously use the Kafka Connect CR and deploy the connectors themselves.
Yeah.
So we do have that workaround. I think for
Yeah.
me, it's the trade-off of like how much effort it would be to update the Mirror Maker API to make use of Connect build. I don't know how hard that would be in the code to kind of get it all to work.
Probably not that hard at initial work, but it's something you need to carry on, something you need to test all the time. Every time you need some changes, it might have some changes and so on. So I don't think the initial work would be that hard, but it's a burden you will need to carry.
What do you think, Lukasz? You raised it.
Yeah, well, even with the proposal for Buildach, I was thinking about like it would be better to just drop it in the future. But yeah, I don't know how long it will actually take to support just the Kubernetes versions that have this kind of feature. I guess we are on 1.25, 27 or something like that.
I think it's 27 plus from 0.48.
Yeah, sorry. So I guess it's still 5 or 6 versions to go.
Well,
yeah.
so I'm not sure these two things are necessarily coupled, right? And you should not expect everyone use the latest supported version. You should feel free to expect that the users to get some nice new toys. They might need to upgrade their Kubernetes cluster. But also keep in mind that while we support pretty deep into the Kubernetes versions, Kubernetes itself supports only the last 3 versions. So if you use something like Kubernetes 130 or older, you are running out of support basically. So should you really do that?
Yeah, I guess another point is with the pod security profiles and other things, which I was anyway checking with the builder stuff. So you can really run this on, let's say, less number of the clusters, because there can be a lot of security stuff, which, you know, the builder and I guess also the for OpenShift, it will not allow you if you don't have the permissions. So yeah, I guess there will be like less usage of this kind of feature because of the security risks and other things I mentioned.
Well, to be honest, not that many people complained about that.
Yeah, that's
And maybe if it doesn't work for you, you don't want to use it in the first place. Because as I said, for a lot of companies, building something in production would be a no-go anyway. So I'm not sure that's necessarily a blocker.
yeah, anyway, I guess if we will implement this and we will have it there for a year or something, I guess it doesn't make much, you know, sense, I guess, if there is a workaround.
Do we close this but say we would be open to reconsidering if enough people commented saying they really wanted this feature and for whatever reason they can't use the Kafka Connect CLs?
We can, or I mean, it would anyway need to go through a proposal. So we can also say
Yeah.
that we keep it open with needs proposal and help want it. And if someone is willing to contribute it, then maybe that shows the interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm
which one
happy with
should we
you there.
go for? Close
Sorry?
it, or which one should we
Yeah,
go for?
let's keep it, and we can, or I can have a look on the proposal and maybe try to see how much.
That's something different than what I said, right? Like there's a difference between keeping it open as a proposal and you going to work on it, and there's a difference keeping it open with the proposal and seeing if someone else is interested enough in this to open the proposal.
Yeah, okay. The
I
second
mean, if you
option.
want to implement this, I don't want to discourage you from it, but like that's the sign how much someone else than you cares about it, if someone else invests the time into it.
Yeah, let's keep it open for someone else if there is some kind of interest. If not, then we can just, you know, close in some point of future.
So like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Need triage, need proposal, outcome. Okay. So that's just task from the GitHub Actions board. I think we just want to confirm this.
Yeah. I think there's another one that's similar, isn't there?
That's the same one, I think.
Yep.
And that leaves few issues open, but I have a call at 4, so I think we should finish for today. And hopefully we can finish this next week on the community call.
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect.
So thanks for joining everyone, and yeah, hopefully we finish this next week. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for
Thanks,
organizing.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.